A few weeks ago, I lost my corporate job of 8 years as a video editor and motion designer. And I was like devastated, despite the recent reality being that I was consumed by this job. Like the moment I opened my eyes in the morning, I opened my laptop and got to work. So on a random Tuesday, when it all disappeared in a matter of minutes, the space it left was just overwhelming. I just feel really directionless right now. It's like slamming on the brakes to your brain and coming to an immediate stop. But the momentum of my thoughts just wanted to keep going.
I should have known this was going to happen. I have no fucking...
For the first time in a long time, my mind had no other choice but to be quiet. What you see on this channel, my efforts to visit every national park here in the US, usually all happens during my vacation time, which is why I try, somewhat unsuccessfully, to fit as much as I possibly can into these trips. And this is one of those trips, except instead of the entire schedule I had planned out, complete with stops at libraries so I could get work done, now the only schedules I have to worry about are campsite reservations and ferry tickets. I recognize that not everyone has the privilege to just go on vacation like this after they lose a job. I mean, I barely have that privilege. I have been redoing my resume and my reel and applying to jobs in the meantime, but I didn't want to let that stop me from going on the already scheduled trip I had planned. I certainly didn't have anything else going on. So here I am, and even though I know I said on the day I lost my job that I was feeling directionless, right now the only direction I have in mind is west.
This is the Great Lakes Loop Trip. When life gave me a change of plans, I made my own. So I'm using this time to visit 2 more national parks.
I've only been driving for a couple hours since leaving home this morning, but I am almost in Pennsylvania, and I think this trip is really just going to be about leaving all of that shit behind and focusing on enjoying these next 2 weeks in the van. Also, being in the van in general is now more enjoyable because since there is no air conditioning, I have these new clip-on fans, which, you know, they're like cheap little things, but they get the job done and it's better than nothing. Also, I figured I should probably update you on what happened back in New Mexico when the dashboard gave me a warning that the engine was overheating. When I took the van to my mechanic at home a couple weeks ago, they confirmed my suspicions that the engine temp gauge was broken, so I've had that replaced. But they did also find the mysterious source of the oil leak that Leo had mentioned back in Texas. The oil cooler hose had a leak in it, so that should be fixed because I got that replaced. And I'm also riding on 4 new tires because my old ones were very worn down and had about 40,000 miles on them.
I was so close to making it across the state of Pennsylvania without having to get gas, but here I am. My first stop on this trip is technically Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota, but I'll be saving that for the next video, because now that I can take my time getting there, I've decided a few pit stops are in order. I will tell you more about my plans tomorrow, but I've finally reached this rest stop in Ohio, so it is time for bed. I got off to an early start this morning. I probably started driving again around 7, if not earlier, but I do think that is starting to catch up with me a bit because I've just decided I need to pull over and close my eyes for a second, because I have made it basically all the way through Indiana, but it's around... Well, I was going to say around noon, but the time changed, so I guess it's now closer to 11. But I do have a couple stops to make, like I mentioned yesterday, and one of them is 2.5 hours away in Chicago. So I think I'm gonna get a coffee inside and try to keep going. After some hazelnut cold brew and 100 more miles of driving, I'm making my first stop here in Chicago for some lunch. Deep dish pizza at Lou Malnati's. Before I head inside, I also want to fully acknowledge that, I know this is not Chicago. This is a suburb outside of Chicago. But driving on I-90 is a nightmare, so I just want to get it over with as fast as possible when going through the city, but luckily they have quite a few locations, so I'm gonna have some actual Chicago deep dish. I know people from this area have a lot of opinions when it comes to which restaurant has the best deep dish, but I chose Lou Malnati's because it's one of the two that everyone mentions.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
What can I do for you today?
Well, I'm gonna do the Chicago Classic, a personal, please. Wow. You can fight about it in the comments or whatever, but that is pretty good. I'm sorry, Lou. I was not familiar with your game. That was incredibly good. That was better than I expected. Holy shit. Alright, let's go. I only have an hour of driving left until I reach Wisconsin, but before I cross the Illinois state line, I figured I would make another pit stop for today and try to get my hands on some Malört. Malört is a wormwood liqueur, basically known for tasting disgusting. The beverage originated as a health tonic in Chicago during Prohibition, but the drink was just a loophole to the federal ban against alcohol, the argument being no one would ever opt to consume it recreationally. Okay, mission accomplished, but at what cost? Because they only had a giant bottle, so honestly, I'm kind of scared just looking at this thing. That's what I got. I figured we'll keep it on the bar cart at home, but I was hoping I didn't have to buy a ridiculous amount of the notoriously disgusting drink, but I did that. Okay, so after a relatively short drive, I have made it to my third and final pit stop of the day here in Janesville, Wisconsin. So for dinner, I'm headed to this Irish pub here, but I am not having a drink. I am here for what is above it. This is the Cozy Inn, which opened in 1922, making it the oldest Chinese restaurant in Wisconsin, and one of the oldest continuously operating in the entire country. Chinese food is my favorite, so I was pretty excited to try this place out. I'm so excited. You don't even know. My server actually told me she grew up coming here and that the food has not changed a bit. And after trying it myself, I can see why they've been in business for over 100 years. Dude, I regret that I have but one stomach to eat with. Dinner last night basically exceeded my wildest dreams. Honestly, so did lunch, but I got back to the van and basically immediately passed out. So I have made a little bit more progress this morning, but before I continue on to Minnesota, I'm going to take a shower, and so I figured I would show you what I have now instead of the bag shower that I showed that was kind of like leaking. So I used it for my final time back in Carlsbad, but I have a replacement, and so far I think it is a massive improvement. So I'm gonna try to do that very quickly because, man, I underestimated the mosquitoes here. This is crazy. Okay, shower was successful. The new setup, honestly, really is kind of a game changer. So now that I'm all clean, I'm gonna keep driving up to my final stop in Minnesota tonight before Voyageurs National Park. But again, I do have a couple stops I wanted to make today, so I'm going to head over to my first one now. I'll be stopping here in Spring Green, Wisconsin to make a slight detour to a famous roadside attraction, the House on the Rock. The House on the Rock is a notoriously, ominous tourist attraction, and architectural curiosity, I guess, is the best way I could put it. And that might make a couple people cringe if they care about architecture, because I literally passed Frank Lloyd Wright's Taliesin on the way in, but I'm not really into architecture like that. I had to look up how to pronounce Taliesin, and although I'm sure it's cool, I really only had time to do one of those things, so this is what I picked. Okay, so ticket acquired, but I also noticed this sign at the front entrance that said
tokens for purchase to activate music around the whole thing. So let's see what opportunities I get to spend these. The original stone house was built by Wisconsin-born architect Alex Jordan Jr. over the course of several decades, and at first appears to be sort of just an eclectic, architecturally offbeat house. This is potentially the most carpeted surfaces I've ever seen in my life, dude. Even the ceiling. What the hell? I did just realize why all the ceilings are carpeted in there. It's because the house is made of limestone and people were probably hitting their heads on the hard rock ceiling. But once you leave the original house, things turn into a weird fever dream of a museum, featuring quirks like the Infinity Room, a thin, pointy strip of cantilevered hallway that creates an endless illusion. Okay, I think I found where I want to spend my first coin. And while this vintage upright music box was a charming start, these displays quickly became more elaborate and increasingly unsettling. This is definitely not the place to be if you're afraid of mannequins. One token is a steal. Mechanical music stuff is like either wildly out of tune or like some parts are much louder than others. So it's all kind of like attending a third grade like concert. So yeah. So this is the part of the house on the rock that is actually kind of what makes it famous. And you can probably hear it. This is the world's largest carousel. You aren't allowed to ride it because it basically is an antique, but there is so much to just look at. There are over 200 animals on this carousel, and none of them are horses. The carousel is a big highlight, but it's really just one small part of this massive roadside attraction. This place has been called the tourist trap to end all tourist traps, and while I expected some gimmicks, I didn't expect to be literally trapped in here. Dang, dude, at this point, I'm legitimately trying to escape, because, like, it's so big in here, and I need to keep driving, so I'm speeding through it. Oh my god, there's more. Oh my god. Thank god. I managed to escape the house on the rock and get some Culvers.
but then I really need to haul ass to Minnesota so I can be there by tomorrow morning. They were like, do you want any ketchup on the side, cheese sauce? And I was like, there's a cheese sauce. Let's go. Cut the cameras dead ass. So even though I have over 5 hours of driving left before I get to where I need to be tonight in Minnesota, before I leave Wisconsin, I did want to stop at a cheese store. So I'm here at Car Valley Cheese to take a look. Wisconsin is full of little shops like this, both touristy and local, that basically only sell cheese. It's really not just a gimmick. It's genuinely a way of life here, and I respect that. I think you might be in heaven, dude. Some tough decisions had to be made, but cheese acquired. Gotta make sure those stay nice and safe. After a really full day of driving, I'm finally parked just about an hour south of Voyageurs National Park. I am enjoying my cheese. It's very good. Having one of these. I don't plan on staying up too much longer because I have somewhere to be tomorrow morning, so I guess I will end the video here, but thanks for coming with me, and I will see you in Voyageurs National Park.